Hi, and welcome to Mindful, Beautiful, and Thriving, a podcast series by Tharaka Foundation focused on youth mental health. Before we begin today's episode, I just wanted to let you all know that all content that is found in our podcast is created for informational purposes only. This content is not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, treatment, or therapy. Always seek the advice of your physician or other qualified health provider with any questions you may have regarding a medical condition, and never disregard professional medical advice or delay in seeking it because of something you have heard in this podcast. Thank you so much, and without further ado, let's get started.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Mindful, Beautiful, and Thriving. It's your host Punam here with a very special guest, Aatish Mahmood, who is a technical supply chain professional and a life coach. This is a Father's Day special podcast. If you remember, we released a Mother's Day special podcast on the topic of self care last month. If you did not get a chance to listen, I highly recommend checking it out. Today, we wanted to celebrate Father's Day and honor their contribution for building a strong, happy, and healthy family. Welcome, Aatish. I'm looking forward to talking to you. Before I ask you a few questions, please introduce yourself and tell us more about you and what are you currently doing?
Hi, Punam. Thanks for inviting me. I'm really excited about this podcast. So, I have an engineering degree from Georgia Tech, and soon after I graduated, I got really passionate about personal growth. And that led me to a process of becoming a certified life coach, but I also got training in trauma healing, different yoga modalities, qigong, among several other things. So I got always passionate about what does it mean to be alive and how can I live my full potential in every role that I play in this world, whether that's being a professional or a father or a brother or just being by myself. So that's kind of my introduction here.
Wow, this is fantastic. I'm so glad we are talking to each other. So, before I ask you detailed questions about this topic, I would like to start with a very basic question. What do you think a father role is in the family?
So Poonam, before I answer that, I'm gonna go over the process of me becoming a father because that will answer a lot of your questions. So I was in my late 20s and I remember playing with my friend's child, a newborn child. And it was a lot of fun playing with this newborn child. And I think just playing with this child somehow turned on the father instinct in me that didn't know that I had before. Just being around something so innocent and pure and happy made me happy and helped me connect with those parts within me as well, the happy part, the innocent part. And soon after that, I decided to become a father. I spoke with my wife, and she was excited about it as well. And there we go. So when my wife got pregnant, I started thinking about what does it mean to be a father? Right? This is exactly the question you're asking me right now. What's the role of the father in a family? And that's exactly what I started exploring. And in that exploration, without trying actually, and said, actually, I don't know what does it mean to be a good father. And I have a lot of these ideological beliefs from my family of origin and from my culture. And I'm not sure if I agree with those things. And I'm not sure if I want to pass those on to my child. And that's what my parents did. They passed on the beliefs they have been inheriting from their culture and their family, and they gave those to me as if those are some absolute truths. Now I'm an engineer, so I have critical thinking skills, of course. So I start applying my critical thinking skills to my beliefs. And pretty sure I discovered it's a house of cards. And it started collapsing into itself. And I had to let go and be very open-minded about what does it mean to be a father. So for me, Poonam, being a father is an archetypical energy inside me, and just it just got turned on. I kind of knew what to do. I kind of knew. So one of the things that I knew as a father, answer your question again, is provide safety. I wanted to make sure my child feels safe without being overprotective also, to make sure she has the space to grow up who she is, but she also has a safe place to grow up who she is. So that's one thing. I always wanted to make sure she views me as safe. So I was very mindful of my tone of voice. But that doesn't mean you don't have to discipline. But I had to make sure that I don't interact with her if I'm getting triggered myself or I'm angry. That whatever discipline flows out of me, it's because I care about her. So I would always ask myself, is this action or behavior coming out of care or some of my own insecurity? Because I could see my own impulses around control, wanting her to be this way, wanting her to behave this way. So I had to let go of a lot of that. And most importantly, paying attention to her, you know, who's my child here? So I did not provide very directive parenting to my child. I appreciated and acknowledged things that made her feel more alive. So, so she chose her own career, for example. I did not influence her to become, take certain type of education or certain type of career, etc. And it's a loaded question. I can probably go on forever, but I'm gonna pause here.
That's wonderful, Atish. I think what you mentioned, letting go of control. A lot of parents do have a challenge doing that, but I'm so glad you were very well aware and you provided that safe space to her to and gave that openness and let be her like who she wants to become. So which is huge. So I appreciate you for that. So now, as you mentioned, you do have a beautiful daughter. So any other parenting tips you would like to share with our
So let me
audience?
finish this thought. So I think you bring a good point, Poonam, about that we struggle with control and a lot of other things. It's just part of being a human being first that we're going to have these unresolved parts in ourselves. So in my exploration, what does it mean to be a father? Even before my daughter was born, I decided to go into therapy because I could feel these underlying anxieties in me. Um, Even though I was a highly functional human being in every possible way, but I kind of became very true to myself in that process. Who am I first? And I said, the fact is that I have these unresolved anxieties and fears that will probably prevent me from being a good father. So that also led to this passion about mindfulness. And at times I would go sit in silence for as long as 2 weeks at a time. And therapy combined with my sitting practice helps me become aware of my motivations as they arise in my body. Is this control, or is it something coming out of care for the other person, or is it something that I don't want to see in myself? And it's really important for me to be recognize this happens to all human beings. This is a human process. It's not like I have any idea or aspirations that I'll reach a point where I'll have no unresolved stuff in myself. I think I'll always have unresolved issues. And I accept them and see them as is, and that's just part of acceptance around that.
Wow, Atish, listening to you, it seems like your daughter was a gift to you. You could, explore your
Absolutely.
own.
I always call her to this day, hey, you're light of my life. So I remember when she was born, I would hold her and it felt like a gift and it made her happy. And I would, you know, carry her with so much pride that, wow, look at my child. And I would just appreciate her innocence and joy. And she was very high energy child and still is a high energy woman. And I appreciated that. And she, up to date, she always challenges me. She always questions me. She pushes her boundaries, and tries to push my boundaries. And yeah, so it's been a fun ride for sure.
That's fantastic. So you did mention about letting go of control and providing that safe space to your child. But anything else is coming to your mind, like
Yeah, I mean,
anything that fathers should not do?
yeah, should or should not do. Yeah, well, the way I would answer that, Poonam, is that we have social role models. So I grew up in Pakistan, and there's certainly male role models there, and I believe they also exist in Western countries, definitely in the United States. What does it mean to be a man, and what does it mean to be a father? And for some reason, a lot of times, love, care, and empathy and compassion are seen as feminine qualities and not masculine qualities. And I think I don't believe that. I think these are human qualities that any healthy and alive human being should have, and they're not specific to any gender at all. This is just part of being an alive human being. So I think that for every father or father to be who may be listening, you have to discover your own parenting style and what does it mean for you to be a father. But definitely love, compassion, empathy, those are all important qualities, and I believe we all have them. And how do you channel them for your child? It has to do with your particular style and also what's your own child like. So I have two puppies now, and they just turned 7 months old. I have them since they were 8 weeks old. And they're really high energy. Sometimes I have to be really loud with them to even get their attention. You know, they go into these puppy zones, and they're unable to listen unless I kind of yell at them, right? And even that moment, I'm very clear that I'm yelling at them to get their attention. I'm not angry at them. You know what I mean? So that's an important distinction here. So but my previous dog, or even or my child when she was young, if I were to speak with them in that tone, they will probably get traumatized. You know, that why this person is being so loud with me. These puppies don't. I just need to have that kind of energy to get their attention. So it's a dance between who you are as a person and who's your child. So it's an alive exploration, and it's going to change as you change and as your child changes. It's always going to be alive. But at the heart of it, I believe it's around being true to yourself, open, non-defensive. Uh, be open to listening to the criticism from your child. I think that's super important. That will help you improve. And it also teaches children how to be in a healthy relationship, because I believe in a healthy relationship, I should be able to express my feelings, including difficult feelings that may arise from other persons. So that way that relationships can stay strong. So there are no withholds in the relationship. There is no aggressive energy or passive aggressive energy. So everything is able to express in a respectful way. So that's how I've been practicing with my child. So in a way, you can say there's nothing special about being a father that way. That these are all just kind of human things that if we practice, our life is probably going to improve. But in terms of being a father, you remember you're in a relationship, so it's a dynamic dance.
Wow, thank you so much for giving your answer in detail. So what I learned, you need to have that balance of law and love. Sometimes it's okay to show tough love. And the other part, what I enjoyed listening to you is, one size doesn't fit all. right? You need to know your own personality and your child personality and change your style as per their needs and always keep that human first. Yeah, you are the father or you're the mother, but you don't own your child. They
Yes.
are human first. So I loved
Yes.
that advice, Atish. So anything else you would like to share before we call it a day?
Yeah, there's this beautiful quote by Khalil Gibran on being parent, and I'm gonna just read it. And he says, "Your children are not your children. They are the sons and daughters of life's longing for itself. They come through you, but not for you. Sorry, they come through you, but not from you. And though they are with you, yet they belong not to you. You may give them your love, but not your thoughts, for they have their own thoughts. You may house their bodies, but not their souls, for their souls dwell in the house of tomorrow, which you cannot visit, not even in your dreams. You may strive to be like them, but seek not to make them like you, for life goes not backwards, nor tarries with yesterday. You are the bows from which your children as living arrows are sent forth. The archer sees the mark upon the path of the infinite, and he bends you with his might that his arrows may go swift and far. Let your bending in the archer's hand be for goodness. For even as he loves the arrow that he flies, so he loves also the bow that is stable."
Wow, I'm just speechless. What a beautiful piece you shared with me and our audience. Very, very grateful to you for talking to us today. And I would like to wish every father in the universe a happy Father's Day. It's your day. Please enjoy your day and do things that energizes you the most. Atish, thank you very much for joining us today and sharing your wisdom.
Thank you. Thanks, Punam. Take care. Bye.
You are listening to Mindful, Beautiful, and Thriving, a podcast series by Tharaka Foundation. As part of our youth series, we will be releasing new episodes every Friday, so make sure to continue to check those out. We hope you enjoyed this podcast, and thank you so much for listening.